just sort of two questions for you. And Wally kind of addressed the idea of, sort of that regression when you see, that 2-on-2 moment on the wall, and, you're talking about finding the open space or popping it out and all of that. And, how you might address that with players who are unfamiliar with the term or unfamiliar with the concept, kind of where you would start from, and how to get to the level where they can do it, at the pace that you would want. So that was sort of my first question. And the second question was, there, in hearing you do the voiceovers, you seem to be stressing the need for a certain amount of urgency to get pucks into the middle, which I agree with. But then also in your book, you spoke quite a bit about the value of sustaining possession, and that there seemed to be some sort of numerical value to keeping the puck alive and keeping it moving. So I was just curious, like, how you balance those two things. Maybe it's different when you're working with the pros, but those were kind of the two things that jumped out to me.
So I'll start with the second question first. So the thing about possession that I think is a real misnomer that I think is really important for us to get over is possession is not, in my mind, keeping the puck. That's not possession. Possession is not keeping the puck. Possession is sustaining offensive zone time. That's possession. So what's the difference? So if my players think that possession is us holding the puck, you will run the risk of having your players stay on the outside and make only possession plays. They'll just pass it to the outside. It'll be chains of board battles, and you will never really threaten the net. That is not possession to me. That is minute munching. That's minute munching. That's not possession. You're just holding the puck so that the other team doesn't have it, but you're not really doing anything of any real value. The real possession is the willingness and the coordinated thought process and movement of all five people to recover chances to score. The truth of the matter is, and Sammy will tell you, that if you're going to be any good in net, you're going to be over 90% save percentage. 94, 95. Okay, so that's a hell of a lot of shots that do not go in. 95 pucks out of 100 are not going in the net. So in order to sustain possession, we need to recover a large percentage of those 95%. And the hardest shot to recover is the best chance. The easiest shot to recover is the weakest chance. So if we're in the offensive zone and we pass the puck around the outside because we're petrified to shoot to give the puck away, and then our D gets it and they sift the puck to the net, the odds of recovering that puck are so low, you're basically, as soon as you shoot the puck from the point, you may as well start back checking because it's an extremely easy way to exit the zone. So possession, in my mind, is related to the quality of the chance you can create. And the quality of the chance you can create is determined upon how willing you are to utilize the interior. Minute munching is a whole different thing. Your third, fourth line guys, that's their job. Win the defensive zone face-off, transport the puck into the offensive zone, get in the offensive zone, minute munch, get the hell off, get the good players on the ice. That's basically what we're talking about. We as coaches, in my mind, have to differentiate between those two things. Now, back to the first question. The first question in my mind is how do you highlight the value of what it is that we're trying to do in terms of this is a different mentality in some ways. So how do you impress upon this player that these are the new values that we care about? What I like to do is I like to find creative ways to illustrate the need. So I just throw them in the deep end of the water. I don't throw them. I get them, walk them to the edge of the water and push them in. And then say, like, what are we going to do now? And then I force them to problem solve, because the earlier you get kids, particularly young kids, and this is true all the way up to first ballot Hall of Fame NHL players, the sooner you engage their mind in problem solving and thinking about it in their way of how they're going to turn, the more you're going to get out of it. The more you're coaching them and telling them, hey, here's something you need to do, and don't forget about this, and don't forget about that, and here's our system, and this and that. They're not listening. They're not engaged. They're listening, but they're not hearing. Hearing is engagement. So I want to create problems. I throw them in like that group that we had out there. This is not like chopped liver. Like, there was a couple kids there. They're like first, second round WHL picks. Like, these are good hockey players. They just never heard this stuff before. They don't know anything. So it's their first day on the job. And I just throw them in and throw them in and throw them in. And I keep creating problems. And then as the problem bubbles up to the surface, then I take that problem and I say, hey, like, what thoughts do you have? Like, what are we going to do here? What are you going to do? And then I start offering solutions. Hey, maybe you should try this. Hey, maybe you should try that. And then I got an engaged athlete, because what I want them to do is I want to create a problem. I want to throw it in their lap and say, okay, what are you going to do about it? And then they look at me with a blank stare and say, honestly, I've never seen any of this shit before. I don't know. I need your help. Oh, you need my help. Oh, okay. Now I'm of value to this player. They're looking for suggestions to create a problem, to create a solution to the problem. Now I have an engaged athlete I can work back and forth on. That to me is everything. And I think you can do that with 8-year-olds. I do it with my players. I do it with my own kid. I create problems. I love to create problems and then say, hey, you figure it out. And then I wait for them to say, coach, like, honestly, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Oh, you're asking me for help? Lovely. Now I'm in. Rather than start the process and say, okay, we're going to work on the offensive zone. And, these are some of the concepts, and this is how we play, and this is our system, and this is what we do. The player is listening, but they're not hearing anything. I think the more you create a problem, force them to solve the problem. And then the beauty of it is, if you really know what you're doing, you can guide them to come up with the answers you want. That's, to me, really where you get into it. And so I hope that answers both of those questions. But my teaching style is, I know what the answer is. I don't ask very many questions that I don't know the answer to. And it's to the players. I ask a lot of questions I don't know the answer to generally, but not to any of the players. I know what I want. And then I create chaos and problems. I just create problems. And in that day, those 2 days, I create a lot. I said to them, listen, like, I don't want you, and I can show you how in the offensive zone on the strong side of the ice, skating away from pressure, skating away from the puck is a nightmare. You should not do that. And I'm going to tell you, you're not going to do it. So now what are you going to do? You have to skate to the player. So what can you do when you skate to them? Oh, well, now I can set a pick. I can set a screen. They don't know. I just keep telling them, and I keep causing the chaos. And I love having, like, the second video I sent to Wally was that example of a drill that I use to bubble up issues. I just create problems. I'm like, that's no good. That's no good. That's a problem. That's no good. That's no good. What do you do? Like, what are we doing here? And then they have to try to find a way out of it. I love drills like that. Then it tells me their level of understanding, because I don't know these kids. Like, I didn't know any of them. I'd never skated with them before. So I think it's a little different when you know the players. You don't have to be maybe as obtuse about it, but I was very obtuse. I'm like, I just throw them in and say that, it's on you. You guys got to figure it out. So I have no issue doing that. And I think that's the best, cleanest way to teach. It's very clean and it's very, it fast forwards the process because mentally every kid's involved. So if you have a follow-up question on that, I'd love to answer it, but I would think that, you know, this is a really good rabbit hole for us to start in.
No, I think it's great. And I just, I'll let Tim jump in, but I was just, you know, I'm thinking I only coach girls, right? So they love the questioning and the why and the figure it out. I actually think it's a better method for them as opposed to the script, because we all know you do the script with the girls and they're far too literal, at least in my experience. So I love the idea and it certainly works well for the players that I work with. So thanks, Darryl.
So here's the other thing. This is where we get into some of these like dichotomy of what we want, what we say we want as coaches and what we actually do. This is what happens. So we say, oh, we love kids who problem solve. We like kids with elite hockey sense. We like kids who can work with cognitive, like shared cognition. They can read off of people. And then we just joystick them everywhere they go. We just tell them, oh, no, you have to be here. Nope, nope, that's not the right spot. Nope, you got to be here. Nope, you got to be there. So we joystick the whole situation. And then we say, yeah, this is bullshit. Like none of these kids have hockey sense. They can't problem solve. They don't know what the hell they're doing. Let's just throw them all out a pond and throw all the sticks on the ice. And that's where they're going to learn. That's bullshit. Where we're going to learn is we're going to force them to think. They don't think on the pond. They just play. They don't think there. That's where it's horse shit. What's really true is when we force them to think. We create problems and force them to think. And we create engaging discussions with them. That's true for a Hall of Famer in the National Hockey League all the way down to a 7 or 8-year-old. And this is where I think we run into trouble. Because what we say we want and what we actually do produce two separate, they don't produce the same results. We joystick them and then complain they have no hockey sense. I think we need to stop doing that. And you'd be shocked at what you get from the 8, 9, 10-year-old in what they actually know or what they think or how they want to try to solve these problems. I think we'd be really surprised if we just ask them. And I think the way to do it is you hit them over the head with a problem, just force it. And I think that instead of coming up with drills that are always solutions, why don't we come up with problem drills? These are all just a drill that creates all kinds of chaos and problems and let them sort it out.